Shri Sai Ram, offering our most humble pranams to the divine lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan. A very, very warm welcome to all the viewers today, and this is the first ever live chat on Facebook by Team Radio Sai, and it's our great privilege and honor to bring this session to all of you from Team Radio Sai, from the divine abode of Prasanthi Nilayam. Brother Sai Prakash, so would you like to introduce this new amazing initiative of Team Radio Sai, which is Radio Sai Next?
Absolutely. Thank you, Sai Giridhar. I've been waiting for this for a long time. I think this is such a wonderful feeling to be here and to greet you all. This session basically we thought is a response to your response.
Wonderful.
I mean, so our response to your response of, the comments that you have given on Facebook, wonderful perspectives. But let me quickly tell you what Radio Sai Next is. Why did we need to start this? What is this new initiative? Basically, today's day and age is the internet age. Social media is there all over. And India is a young country. If you look at it, maybe by next year we're going to have 65% of our population below the age of 35.
Wow.
And so our country is really young, and so is the world population.
Yes.
So can we present these messages of Swami in a contemporary format? Can we present it in a way which youngsters relate to, young adults relate to, how they are going to relate to it and how they make it relevant to their lives? So when we are thinking, is this all right? Should we do this? Should we not do this? Swami has an answer for everything.
Totally.
And there was a quote which came in Sai Inspires one of the days. And Swami says, God is neither ancient nor modern. His countenance and glory never changes. But present him if you must in a modern manner, in a modern style.
Wow.
So Swami is giving the go ahead. He says, present him if you must in a modern manner, in a modern style. But he says, do not change the nature.
Wonderful.
So what he says is, like, for example, if a child, he says, if a child has to be given a bitter pill, insert the pill in a plantain and offer the child both the plantain and the pill. But do not change the nature of the pill, because then the effect, the cure will not be administered.
What an amazing analogy is that.
This entire quote, he says, present him if you must in a modern manner, in a modern style. And I was totally amazed. And when he said, Swami, when did you actually say this? He has told this in 1961.
Wow.
Can you believe?
Can you imagine that?
August 1961, when Prasanthi Nilayam did not even have electricity, just to put things in perspective.
Yes.
So, when you look at all this and you see Swami has given the go-ahead. So, God is neither ancient nor modern, but present him in, if you must, in a modern manner, in a modern style, so that he might be understood today. So that is what we are trying to do in Radio Sai Next. And brothers and sisters and everybody, we really hope that you are able to see that we are trying to change the tone a little bit so that it is more friendly with young adults and youngsters who are the next generation. So that's why it is Radio Sai Next.
Brother Sai Prakash, even in terms of, say, as an audience, I asked this question to you. I see that the quality of the first video that you delivered, that is on prayer, the quality is amazing. We had lots of, in fact, if you look at the comments, there are many comments about the good quality that has been presented of production. So would you like to speak, speak something about that?
No, basically the idea is the quality is consistent in all Radio Sai presentations. The quality is really good in all Radio Sai presentations. The format we have chosen is more contemporary.
Oh, wonderful.
See, what we would call, this is a short film format. So it's like ad films. Ad films you have, so this is a short film format, and we want to move towards more contemporary formats.
Wonderful.
See, documentaries are something which little bit old school even, but today even the documentaries that come out have a completely different flavor to it. So we want to make Swami's message in the most contemporary format.
Wonderful.
That's the whole idea. So the quality is the same, but I think because the format is different, we have never done a short film format in Radio Sai. So I think this is something new. That's the idea.
Great. So there's a lot of innovation that is coming
in fact, one of our listeners with the username testing 23456. So he or she, whoever they have written, I love the fact that the video asks fundamental questions rather than telling us answers. Great job. Look forward to more of these. Now the thing is, actually, to put things in perspective, there is no substitute for Swami's original words.
Yes.
See, there is no effort, because Swami has said it, and he has said it in the most simplest of ways. He has given the most simple analogies and most contemporary analogies. So there is nothing you can do to what Swami has already done. All we are trying to do is present it in a contemporary format.
Wonderful.
So this feedback is spot on, because we are not trying to give you answers. For answers, you go back to Swami.
This is very interesting because when there was a workshop that was conducted in Prasanthi Nilayam, where the Discovery team, from the Discovery channel had visited, one of the top dignitaries in that session had come up to me, and they said something wonderful. They said, see, when you explore these new video formats, you have to keep the essence of what Swami said as it is, but do not look at these new formats or these innovations as deviation from traditional methods, but simply as a different language of communication.
Absolutely.
A language which the modern youth would very easily understand. For example, in fact, he went on to say that if you are to communicate your the teachings of Bhagwan to Russian devotees, for example, who in case do not understand English, what would you do? So you will have to present it to them in their language, in a language that they would understand. In the same way, he said, look at media or the various formats that media presents as different languages, to reach out to the hearts of the youth, but while you keep the essence of Swami's message, exactly the same. I think that's a beautiful,
this is the effort, and this is the first video we're trying. The tagline for our channel, Radio Sai Next.
That is something interesting.
So, we came up with this tagline called Discover, Try, Be. But dear listeners, and dear viewers, now that we are going live on webcast, now Discover, Try, Be comes from a very, very ancient Sanskrit quote.
Thought so.
So I leave it to you, brother Sai Giridhar.
Yeah, it sounds very close to something which Swami had mentioned even when he would speak about Bhagavad Gita, and I think it's even there in Gita Vahini, if I'm not mistaken, where Swami talks about these three words: Jnatum, Drashtum, and Tattvena Praveshtum.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So he says Jnatum, Drashtum, Praveshtum. This sounds very similar to discover, try, and be.
No, these three words have been taken from that.
So that's the secret behind it.
So if I say Radio Sai Next, Gyatum, Drashtum, Praveshtum, I think that's a language which many of us will not understand. So Gyatum, Drashtum, Praveshtum has become discover, try, be.
Wonderful,
wonderful. And what we are thinking is most of the videos that we are going to put in this channel will fall majorly under one of these brackets.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, because some of the feedback that we have received again for this video, we see that, they have talked about, the video asking fundamental questions rather than, delivering doses of answers that, usually is the way to do. It's a very interesting point of view, I would say, because even Jnatum, Drashtum, Praveshtum, when Swami describes these three words, he uses the analogy of, say, a mango fruit, a juicy, this is the mango season in Prasanthi Nilayam.
Right.
You get the sweetest of mangoes here, and, when you know that there is prasadam in the mandir and mango is being distributed, so what you do is you have this information that is jnatum, right? So you discover that mango is available in the mandir. So then Swami says, but that is not enough to give you joy, isn't it? Right. So you have to actually go to the mandir and receive the prasadam in your hands and actually feel the mango.
See it.
And see it. That is drashtum, which is again, I think, the word try. That is experiment, experience it that way. And Bhagwan goes one level further and he says, Jnatum, Drashtum is not enough. It is important to have Praveshtum. That is, you actually have to partake the mango, enjoy the sweetness, and be the bliss that it renders to you. So, through the videos, is it the initiative then that we ask these more fundamental questions through innovative means and allow the devotees, the audience to, discover new insights, new interesting points of view about various subjects, and actually dwell deeper into them and make it practical in their life?
Yeah, that's exactly what we are trying. Some of the videos will come under the bracket of discover.
Okay.
Some will come under try.
Okay.
Some will come under be.
Oh.
Now, for example, the first Ganesha video, I would put it under the category try. So because there is an effort, we can actually go, you can pray, you're doing something. But discover is something like you're aware, you're told about what is morality, what is ethics, you're given a perspective of what it is. And B is something, the ultimate truth.
Yes.
The ultimate truth is being mentioned. So it doesn't mean we all have realized the ultimate truth. We have just taken it from Swami's message and presenting it to people. So when they see, this is what it means to be. So discover, try, be. I think that's what it is. I think quickly let's move on to some of the feedback. The whole purpose of this session again is to read out such wonderful feedback that we have got from all of you. And just for sake of convenience, we have categorized it under two broad headings. One is what is prayer, and the other is how do we react when our prayers are either answered or not answered.
I have a very interesting point of view on this.
Yeah.
The very fact that Team Radio Sai has selected this topic, because we always start with Ganesh Vandana. As you see, any bhajan sessions we have in Prasanthi Nilayam all over the world, in any samitis, we always start with Ganesh Vandana, with prayer to Ganesha. This is very interesting because I heard an experience where Swami was seated in the bhajan hall, and one of the students had presented his letter to Swami, and Swami was going through the letter, and he saw that there were so many asks from that boy. Hey, Swami, I want this, I want that, I have this problem, solve that, solve this. So Swami read the whole thing and said, ఎందుకు నన్ను ఇంత అడుగుతారు మీరు? Why do you ask all this from me? Why do you think that I have placed Ganesha himself there right at the entrance? I have installed Ganesha so that you can go and ask him whatever you want and he is ready to give you, right? So that's a very beautiful insight that Swami gave.
That is the department of wish fulfillment.
Yeah, the wish fulfilling department, the department of the asks and the prayers. Again, the ask and prayer is an interesting thing because in one of our Kodai sessions, Swami was casually mentioning this and he said, see, the problem with all of you is you ask, you don't pray, right? So stop asking and start praying. See, this is a beautiful distinction that Swami brought into asking and praying.
I think when we go to the replies that we have got, to the responses that we have got, we have got fantastic responses which give different perspectives of what prayer actually is. Because as they say, munde matir binna, there are different perspectives in each one's mind. So let's quickly go to what some of our viewers have given their definition of what prayer is. Just to start with, Pentaya Adiraj has said, prayer is when I get the privilege to talk to God. Isn't that an interesting?
How beautiful is that?
Yeah, it's a privilege to talk to God. So you were mentioning that Swami often says that
prayer is a direct hotline connection to God. It's the easiest way. In fact, we have one of the live viewers, Sai Ishwari Singham, who has asked how to connect with Swami 24 hours, 365 days, 7 days a week. Swami would often say this, that prayer is a direct hotline connection to God, and that God is your indweller. He is your Hriday Nivasi. So it's easiest. So just pray and you're already there with Him. It's as simple as that to begin with, right? Yeah.
Yes. Here we get a message from Shai Nag. Our prayer is a constant conversation with God, every second and every minute of our lives. At the same time, the reality of the video is what is happening. Our conversation is our prayer, but what is shown in the video is a snippet of what is actually happening.
Yes.
He says, we are always striking deals. Do this for me and I will do that. Give me this and I will give up that. And it's just another realization of how we have a ladder to climb in our spiritual progress, but we are not yet got on to the first step.
Beautiful.
So this viewer has written that there is a huge ladder for spiritual growth and we are just climbing, or rather not got on to the first step as well. So possibly he means that by asking, it is still at the pedestrian level.
Very true. In fact, we have one of the live viewers again here, Sangeeta Claire from UK. who has asked this question, could you share what instructions and tips Swami gave to make our prayers more effective, to take that first step and reach him so that he responds directly, right? So this is so beautiful because we were just having this discussion before the live chat that Swami had once mentioned in the interview room that while he designates all other prayers to the various deities, like Swami just mentioned about Ganesha, and but he said there are 3 types of prayers that he answers himself. Those 3 prayers directly come to him, and he takes responsibility to kind of respond to those prayers. Swami said those 3 types of prayers are any prayer made from a pure heart, right? With absolute purity, if there is a spontaneous prayer, Swami directly responds to it. Right? The second thing he said is any selfless prayer that is made. That is, if we, just for an example, we are just driving in the street and we see an ambulance pass by, we don't even know who is there, right? But just a prayer comes to the heart and we say, Swami, whatever they are going through, can you please help them with that? Can you please bless them with healing? So this is a selfless prayer, and this is a prayer which again Swami said he would directly deal with, a prayer from a pure heart, a selfless prayer. And the third thing which he said is a prayer for the entire creation. Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. That's why we would see, in 2010, Swami would wait for all of us to chant Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu 3 times, and as soon as we would do, he would be waiting to give his Abhay Hasta to show that Swami is there for us. And moment we expand our hearts to pray for the entire creation, Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu, Swami is himself there with us to respond to it.
Several times Swami has himself chanted.
Yes,
like when you're chanting,
he would chant along with us. Yes.
So it's such a beautiful pray for the entire creation.
Wonderful. And thank you for the question, Sister Sangeeta, that brought out this beautiful point.
And we go to Gunakeshan N. He says, prayer is an excuse to have positive vibrations, an opportunity to feel humble and surrender our thoughts. I think that's a beautiful perspective because, when to have positive vibrations, you have these rituals. Rituals are a form of prayer. But you spend time doing them, and when you spend time doing it, your thought is constantly on the Lord, and you chant, you sing. So those are the pure vibrations. So he says it's an excuse. It's an excuse to have positive vibrations.
That's a very interesting point of view.
Yeah, that's a very beautiful point.
So does it also relate to how more detailed prayers in forms of yajnas and the rituals that we do during festivals, and we see a definite change in the vibration itself of the place. Like at home you do Ganesh Puja, or you do Varalakshmi Vratam, or whatever various pujas, and even if you have a bhajan session at home, we suddenly see the entire vibration of the space change. So in case we are going through difficult times, and in case our own vibration feels to be going down, possibly prayer is a beautiful way. Why possibly? It is our experience that prayer is a beautiful way to simply come back with exuberance of life, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, when you see some of these definitions, many of them have experienced it. It's based on their own experience.
That's true.
Kalpana Bhojraj says, prayer is not necessarily asking God for something, for some wish to be fulfilled. It could just be an expression of our gratefulness to God for all that He has already blessed us with. It could just be our expression of love for our divine parent, our Guru.
See, this is amazing because in this live program, these are the comments that we plan to read out, and we see that there are live audience here, like we have Sister Navitri Chandra Naidu from Indonesia, who has asked this very question. Is it necessary, is prayer a necessary thing if we know that Swami will take care of everything anyway, right? So here is a beautiful, interesting point of view that it's not necessary to pray for something. Prayer could be a simple expression of gratitude, and gratitude is such a beautiful energy to be with.
Absolutely, and Swami would often say, have gratitude, have gratitude.
Yes.
You really, literally his words and his sweet voice rings in your gratitude, gratitude. He would always say that. Y.M. Ratnam says, prayer should be unconditional and only to communicate with Him as a friend in our daily lives. I mean, looking at God as a friend is a very, very, Sakyam is the last step before Atmanivedanam.
Atmanivedanam.
It's a very, very intimate relationship. But here he says it should be unconditional.
Beautiful.
Isn't that true even with friendships in the world? Like,
Very true.
if you want to have a strong bond of friendship with anyone, the more unconditional you are,
More sustained it will be. Yes.
I think isn't that true for every?
Beautiful.
Then we go on to Rama Manohara Rao Padi. The topic is really good. Prayer is nothing but presence of God in the mind. This is an interesting
Wow.
perspective. He says prayer is nothing but presence of God in the mind. As long as the God in the mind is in the mind, it gives ananda and strength, and the mind automatically evolves into place of meditation where the God prevails and the desires disappear.
Wow.
So praying to God is the first blessing.
Wow. So this also kind of gives us the insight that through prayer we can simply be in the presence of God, isn't it?
Right.
And that itself is meditation. In fact, I remember this very beautiful experience which I had in Vashishta Gufa. You know, the cave which Swami visited near Rishikesh, where he went to bless his devotee Swami Purushothamananda with Jyotir Padmanabha Darshan, which was his favorite deity. So one of the Swamijis there who was associated with the cave, who was an ardent devotee of Swami, his name was Swami Shantananda Puriji, and he had visited Prasanthi Nilayam with a Telugu version of Bhagavatam that he had translated. Swami had blessed it and called him for an interview, and in the interview room, Swami asked this Swamiji, "So do you do sadhana?" So he said, "Yes, Swami, I do sadhana." "So do you meditate?" He said, "Yes, Swami, I meditate." So Swami asked him a very simple question. He said, "What is meditation?" Right? And Swamiji, he himself narrated this to us, and he said, you know, when Swami asked this question, his mind went blank and he forgot all the definitions of meditations.
Maybe that is meditation. Mind going blank, isn't that?
Right? So then when he was silent, you know, Swami responded and said, "See, when you eat, sleep, talk, walk, dance, work, do anything and you think of me, that is meditation."
Beautiful.
So this is a beautiful point which Brother Rama has provided here.
Harita K says, meditation is the time when we listen to him, and prayer is the time when we talk to him.
Wow.
Isn't that beautiful? Like, meditation is when you're listening to him, you want him to talk to you, but prayer is the time you are talking to him.
You are communicating to God.
And hoping he's listening.
Yes.
That's what it is. Then Kokila Vaidyanathan says, for me, prayers are conversation with God. It can be in any form. I chat with him about everything. Of late, when I sing bhajans, that's a deeper conversation and no thoughts as such.
Wonderful. In fact, we have one of our live viewers now, Brother Gopal, who's asking this very question. He says, how bhajans help in relaxing our mind?
Right.
So here is a testimonial we have for how bhajans relaxes our mind.
Right.
But if you want to go into slight details, Swami said that, see, the contemplation is on the name and the form along with the music. That is, Swami would often say that Tyagaraja would, he could have just said Rama Nannu Brovara, right? Just as these words, but they lack the bhava. The most essential aspect of, an offering to a prayer to God is the bhava. And music or bhajan, specifically Sankirtanam and bhajan, is the most amazing way to make a prayer to God, and where the bhava is evoked. And when the bhava is evoked, what it does, the mind in all its vagaries that runs hither and thither, it focuses itself, it becomes ekagra. So the greatest gift of bhajan is ekagrata, that is one-pointedness. And that ekagra manas is sublime, silent, placid, and it's completely immersed in the bliss of his name and form. And that is how the mind automatically releases its attention of all the worldly matters and all the distractions and immerses in the bliss of the name and form of the Lord. And as Swami said, Tyagaraja often used this to sing the glory of the Lord so that he would just lose his mind at his lotus feet.
In fact, even if you think of Sankirtan, Swami would say Nama Sankirtan.
Nama Sankirtan.
Nama Sankirtan is the highest, because then you're not asking God for anything.
Exactly.
You're not telling him that you're just singing his name. He says that's enough. So we go on to the feedback given by Venkatesh Radhakrishnan. He says, as Swami said, prayers are meant for prayers are meant for putting a word to Him about our action in the present and future, and to be taken care of when we deviate.
Wow, this is a very interesting point, because I've heard many of our brothers, during casual discussions, they often talk about this and say, Swami, I have made a prayer to Swami that I'm getting into a new initiative and he should guide me and guard me, that so that I don't deviate into wrong paths. So this is a beautiful dimension of prayer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brother Venkatesh, for this.
Given.
Yeah.
So the username bless all forever. So he or she, they have written, growing up in a Catholic environment in Europe, I learned that prayer means talking to God.
Wow.
If you make it a habit to talk everything over with God, considering Him as your friend, you are in constant prayer.
Wonderful.
Isn't that what we already discussed, that constant prayer? You have created a wonderful video which appeals to my heart. Only the ending created a pinch of disturbance. As a woman of 70 years and a long time Sai devotee, I do not appreciate being addressed as hi guys.
Okay.
A simple Om Sai Ram would do. Namaste and Om Sai Ram. So this is the feedback which...
Yeah, this is a point well taken, and I'm sure there were no intentions to hurt anybody's feelings, but because it was intended for the young adults all over the world, and this is something that is very normal for them. I'm sure that there was nothing like that, it was intended, but nevertheless it's a point well taken, and we would love to address you with the name of the Lord.
That's true. Janani Vishwanathan says, among the thousands of fleeting thoughts and ideas, where it is difficult to find what we really need and focus upon, prayer is a means to ensure to oneself the same and recognize the path. So basically she says that when there are thousands of thoughts, prayer helps us to bring down the number of thoughts and focus on
That's a very interesting point again, because I remember another experience of one of our students who was serving Swami in the early 90s, and he had shared this with us. So one day he asked Swami this question, because this was so every evening they would have satsang before they go to sleep in the hostel, and the discussion was about this topic, that when Swami already knows everything, why do we write letters to him? So they couldn't come to a consensus on this question.
I think many of our viewers are asking that question.
Yeah, exactly. Like when he knows
prayers
everything.
or letters, it means the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So next day, because this boy was in form, the form is a word we use here colloquially, to say that Swami was giving a lot of attention to that particular student or a devotee, right? So this boy was in form, so he was called to interview room almost every day. So the very next day after they had this discussion about why do we need to write letters to Swami, Swami called him inside the interview room and asked him the same question again. He said, why do you think that you need to write letters to Swami? Because Swami already knows everything. And he was quite stunned by this question of Swami. And Swami went on to explain very, very lovingly. Swami said, see, what happens is, in your mind, there are so many thoughts that are running. You have so many prayers. You sometimes ask for this. After a while, you say, no, I don't want that. I want this, Swami. So you're kind of confused with lots of things running in your mind. But when you put pen on paper, and that too, you're writing this letter to God, what happens is your mind focuses immediately, and you know that one thing that you really want now. And you kind of, like Sister Janani mentioned, all the fleeting thoughts and ideas are concentrated to what you really want now from Swami, and you start penning that down. That's one reason Swami said. The other reason
Possibly it's not for Swami, it is for us.
It's totally for us.
It is for us to, concretize our several thoughts.
In fact, the second reason which Swami gave also is for us, in the sense that Swami said, Papam ilandaru, you all want to come and be with Swami kada. So when you write these letters, you get an opportunity to come close to Swami and give the letters, maybe touch his hand or have Pada Namaskaram. And hence Swami, encourages us to write. Swami once mentioned this to me directly. He saw a long letter that I had written and he said, hey, ఎందుకు ఇంత డీటెయిల్గా రాసావు నువ్వు? వై డిడ్ యూ రైట్ దిస్ లెటర్ ఇన్ సో మచ్ డీటెయిల్? స్వామికి అంతా తెలుసు, స్వామి నోస్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్. 4 లైన్ రాస్తే చాలు. సో హీ డిడ్ంట్ సే డోంట్ రైట్ లెటర్స్, హీ సెడ్ రైట్ 4 lines ఇట్స్ ఎనఫ్. 4 లైన్లు రాస్తే చాలు.
Very sweet. Yash Mulki says, in a discourse on April 22nd, 2003, Swami said in a poem that if you want something, you must constantly keep pestering him till your prayers are answered. Then he says in 1997 Shivratri discourse, Swami said not to ask.
Yes.
So these two look like apparent contradictions. On one side, Swami says, stop not and ask till you get your prayers fulfilled. And on the other hand, Swami is saying, no need to ask. It will be granted without asking. Can you please discuss this more in your next video? That's what Brother Yash Mulki has said.
It's an interesting topic possibly for Team Radio Sai to explore.
Yeah, I think since this topic prayer is so deep and we have just touched the surface of the surface, we really need
I would say you have triggered the topic. There's so much more to come ahead. But if we are to just, give an immediate point of view on this, again from Swami's own discourses, is I think these two things have to be put into context. That is, what Swami said on April 22nd, 2003, where he said,
ask.
Having asked what ought to be asked, never give up until it is given to you by God. So this is a very famous poem of Swami, where he says, he talks about the determination of a devotee, right? So that is one discourse which is referred here. The other discourse which Brother Yash refers to is the discourse from 1997, where Swami is saying that you don't have to ask anything from me, and I'm here to grant everything without even asking. But let me take recourse in one of the discourses on the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which Swami picks up one shloka and he details it throughout the discourse. That is, Anapeksha Sutir Daksha Udasino Gatavyata Sarvaramba Parityagi Yomad Bhakta Samepriya. The last phrase there, Yomad Bhakta Samepriya, means that such a devotee is very dear to me, who has all these qualities of Anapeksha, Suchir Daksha. So, Suchihi, Daksha, we can go into this in detail later, but the key word here relevant to what this question is the word Daksha, which means determination. And Swami in fact sings this very poem when he explains the determination. But what Swami says there is a devotee does not ask anything else from God but himself. Even when he refers to the story of Dhruva, when this little 6-year-old boy went into the forest, he went initially to ask for a chance to be seated on his father's lap. But after he chanted the sacred mantra which sage Narada gave him, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, he was so immersed in love of God that when Narayana himself appeared in front of him, he forgot all his worldly asks, and what he asked the Lord was, Lord, I want you, I don't want anything else. So this determination which Swami talks about, which a devotee should have in his asking, is the ask for God himself, not the trivialities of the world.
In fact, there's a very beautiful poem. It's not a poem, it's a paragraph, I would say. I'll just read it out in Telugu and just quickly, translate what he says. Jatayu korinda, Shabari adiginda, kadu. It says, has Jatayu desired and has Shabari asked. It says, Paripurna premato పిలిచినప్పుడు భగవంతుడు తానే పరికి వస్తాడు. So he says, when you ask, when you call with complete love, pure love, paripurna prema, Bhagavan will come running to you. He says, Bhagavan will come running to you. He says, ఏది మనము నోరు తెరిచి అడగనక్కర్లేదు. There is nothing, there is no need for us to open our mouth and ask for anything. అడుక్కోవటం ప్రవృత్తి మార్గం. Then పవిత్రమైన ప్రేమతో అర్పితం కావటం నివృత్తి మార్గం. So I think this summarizes what we were trying to say. అడుక్కోవటం ప్రవృత్తి మార్గం and పవిత్రమైన ప్రేమతో అర్పితం కావటం నివృత్తి. So he says asking is the worldly path. But offering, surrendering completely is the divine path.
Like Shabari, like Jatayu.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
Asking, surrendering completely is the divine path. Wonderful. I think this poem beautifully summarizes. Then we go on to Brother Tarang Kapoor.
Can I add another analogy before we go there? See, Swami would often talk about our heart being a lock, right? And our mind being the key. See, mind is the bundle of desires, right? So if you use the mind and to open the heart, Swami says if you turn it left, that is worldward, that is also called desire, that is also called asking only. But if you turn it towards the left, which is the world side, the lock
locked.
closes or you get bound. And this is of course the Indian system. It may be different abroad. But when you turn the key towards the right, which is Godward, which is again an ask, it's a desire, but it is desiring for God, you see the lock snaps and opens, which is freedom. So the same desire, when it's turned towards the world, it binds you in the cycle of life and birth and death. But when you turn this desire or prayer in an ask for God and God alone, it liberates you. So while the words of ask, desire and prayer seem very similar for whatever we are asking, the difference is which way you turn the key and what you're asking for. Yeah.
Exactly. A very interesting, I think it's like a practical tip given by Brother Tarang Kapoor. He says, if my prayers are not answered, I generally stop praying for that specific thing. However, I try to concomitantly increase the intensity of my general prayer, offering my current situation to God.
Wow.
Either the specific prayer gets answered in due course of time, or God provides me with the strength to deal with the problem. Okay. So he says, even giving me the strength to deal with the problem is an answer to the prayer in sorts. So this is an interesting thing. He says that if the specific prayer is not being answered, I change it to a general prayer.
This is again something which one of our senior teachers here were sharing, that Swami once taught them how to pray in this manner. And they have experimented in their own life many times. So you ask for something which you feel you need really, right? So you make that prayer to Swami, but when you don't experience a response, what he said is, you just offer that prayer to Swami and pray for something larger. Like we take the recourse into the three prayers which Swami said that he responds directly to. That is with a pure heart, a selfless prayer, or a prayer for the welfare of everybody, Loka Kalyana, right? Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. So having made this prayer, if we see that the response is not coming, it's always in God's time that it's for our best that Swami is playing it that way. So why not we change the prayer immediately and say, Swami, while this was my prayer, I offer it at your lotus feet, but I pray to you now to bless the entire humanity, the entire creation to be in joy and glory and bliss. How about that?
Absolutely. I think that is a prayer which, even if you think of the yajnas that Swami performed every year, Samasta Loka Sukha, Loka Kalyanam, that's what you would say. Loka Kalyanam is the purpose for all prayers. This were some definitions on prayer that some of our viewers have shared. But here are some perspectives on how what our attitude could be. Like when prayers are answered, all of us are happy. When prayers are not answered, that's when we start thinking. But there are certain very interesting perspectives. So we have grouped these responses under perspectives on how our attitude could be. These are suggestions.
Wonderful.
So Sai Aditya says, when God says yes, He gives you what you want. When God says wait, He gives you better. When God says no, He gives the best.
Wow, wonderful.
Isn't that wonderful? So when God says no, we are completely leaving it to His wisdom. There is a very beautiful Telugu poem which I can't recite it unfortunately, but Swami says, Khajana, God is having this huge treasure, and if He's wanting to give you a huge diamond, you go and ask for something small, you get only that.
This beautiful point that Brother Sai Aditya has given us kind of also leads us to a question which one of our live viewers now is asking. Brother Rabakaran Narayanan is asking that, saints like Ramanujar and Swami Baba have propagated Sharanagati, surrender, as one of the best modes. Like this prayer says, when God says no, He gives the best, right? So what we need at that point is a kind of an understanding that would help us go through that period. And this again, we have mentioned this many times in many fora, but it's worth mentioning here. When Swami asked this question to some of us one day in Chennai, and he said, what do you think is surrender? As a response to a student's prayer, Swami, Sharanagati ante emi Swami? What is Sharanagati? And Swami said, Sharanagati la kudukarthu konnumilla. That is, you don't have anything that you can give to God, because everything already is belonging to Him. It is His. it is He Himself, right? So there is nothing that we can offer to God in
But there is
Sharanagati.
an insight which he gave, which I don't want you to say now.
Okay.
On Sharanagati, because we are going to make a separate video on that. So,
Okay.
so I was waiting for you to start that, but I don't want you to say that, because let us keep it for a separate video.
Okay, so this is a suspense that is going to lead to a Radio Sai video.
Next
so
video,
you will have to wait for that.
Next video on Radio Sai next.
Okay.
Not immediately next. I would say several videos later.
Wonderful.
Sarika Ayaz says, Sairam, lovely video. If my prayers don't get answered, I feel that Swami has abandoned me. But gradually I come to terms and ask myself, have I been a true devotee, or do I deserve what I'm asking? So this is an attitude that people can develop. Then CS2110 Cornell, as a username, says, nice video. The message I receive, I don't ask God for things. Just ask God to do what's best for you. That's an interesting perspective. And Shebanga Vijay Lakshmi says, I mean, she gives a very nice approach to what we were just discussing. She says, the painful part is when our prayers are not answered.
Wonderful.
She says, the painful part is when our prayers are not answered, and that waiting requires a lot of faith and patience. Because during this period only we used to get so much of distress and even sometimes doubts, like whether Swami is hearing my prayer or not. When I thought of it, Swami gave me a wonderful insight, which is, during this time, try to recapitulate the moments we have with Bhagwan. How many ways He saved us, how much He showers His grace on us. Definitely these thoughts would strengthen our faith and patience. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. In fact, this answers one of the questions that has just come from Brother Harish G, where he asked that sometimes we feel that our prayers are not answered in spite of waiting patiently for years.
Right.
In that case, how do we stay patient with constant belief that Swami will answer our prayers? So here is a beautiful insight where sister is saying that if we are able to recapitulate or live in the Bhagavatam of our Lord Sai, that is, constantly think of the stories, think of His Leelas, think of His Mahimas, and we establish that kind of relationship. See, if you look at it, somewhere there is a need for us to know, right? Why this thing happened to me? Why is this thing happening to me alone, right? These are questions that often comes to us, and that leads us to trauma, or that leads us to very difficult situations in life. And the need to know is something very, very strong in the human psychology. But if we are able to productively use this time, not only to do Swami's work, do our work more efficiently, but engage ourselves in the sweetness of the Lord's glories and the stories, what happens is it fills our present moment with a lot of sweetness and removes the bitterness from our life.
Very true.
And that gives us the strength that we need to go ahead, and in time when we look back, we will be easily able to connect the dots. And sometimes we do get to know, it's not really necessary. There's a scientist who said that the universe has no obligation to explain itself to you. But then God, out of His compassion, sometimes if it is our real ask, He does let us know why things are happening the way things are happening. But to get over the bitterness of the situation, Bhagavatam is the biggest and the most beautiful nectarine treasure that God has given us. So Swami's stories, Swami's Leelas, Swami's Mahimas, if we are able to drink them every day, little by little, as in Bhagavad Vahini Swami says, we become so attached to that nectar of God's stories that we cannot live without it, and our life itself oozes that bliss of the divine nectar.
Very true. In fact, here Sai Sandhya Sokur, she says, I'm feeling very bad for Ganesha. It might be tiring and boring to listen to all these types of prayers. It would be nice if you could just tell him that we love him. And that is okay if our wishes are not fulfilled, as long as he is with us.
Wow,
Isn't
wonderful.
that a beautiful thought? He says, I'm feeling sad for Ganesha. And Prem Kumar CG says, if you think your prayers aren't answered, you are either not listening or you are asking the wrong question. What if prayer was the answer? Isn't that a beautiful
Wonderful.
thought? What if you just put in your best effort with positive intent and leave the rest to God? What if what you need is not P for prayer, but P for persistence?
Oh, Beautiful,
That's
beautiful.
a beautiful. So persistent, be persistent in asking or be persistent in surrendering to the Lord.
Wonderful.
Either ways, that is the way to go forward.
In fact, Sister Sarojini Parashuram has made a similar point where she says that best is not to ask for anything, but to ask Him to make us realize that He's always with us. How beautiful is that?
That's a beautiful prayer. In fact, that's, going through all these responses that we have got, I think we have got about 190 responses or so.
Yeah.
And these were two categories. We categorized them, and I'm sure there are so many responses, beautiful responses, which we have not been able to touch upon. But there are a few humorous responses which have come.
Wow.
And I thought, let us just mention it. Nirmala Velyutham says, I like that iPad scene. Instead of breaking the coconut, that lady should have offered her cell phone to Ganesha.
Wow.
Isn't that sweet? I'm reminded of that discourse when Swami, there's a discourse that Swami said, take all your mobiles, go to the well and
Bavilo Padayandi.
I think a few of them actually went and did it.
Yeah, they did that.
In the big well in front of the mandir. Swami said, throw it in the well. So she says, instead of offering coconut, she should have offered the cell phone to Ganesha. Then Sai Ishwari Singham gives a very beautiful tip. She says, I'll start crying if my prayers are not answered. Then definitely they will be answered.
That's an amazing technique to win the grace of God,
He says, I'll start crying, then God's heart will melt.
Wonderful.
God
So
will definitely,
sweet.
it's very sweet.
Yes.
Then Sri Harsha says, be aware of what you ask, because the Sulabha Prasanna may grant you right away, and the consequences you have to bear. So that's also a sweet thought. You can't help thinking of Kumbhakarna.
Oh, yes,
poor thing.
totally.
He asked for something, wanted to ask for something, asked for something else, and he
and
got
landed
something
up
else.
sleeping 6 months and eating 6 months.
Exactly. And Arjun says, I pray to Swami in my every exam to pass me 35 out of 100. Brother Arjun, I really wish you don't, ask only for
Limit
35.
yourself
Limit
with 35.
yourself.
Swami is here to give abundance.
Remember that he is having this treasure and he wants to give you much more. Possibly, like the video said, your efforts deserve much more. Why should we limit? It's, it's like Swami would often say, you go to Kalpa Vriksha and ask for coffee pudi.
Yes.
Kalpa Vriksha koi, you ask for coffee pudi. When the Lord is standing to give you everything, why do you ask for such simple things? So,
There is a question from one of the live viewers. CK has asked this question. There are people who keep facing problems after problems, like back-to-back problems. Then they start losing faith in prayers and just go into depression. What would you advise such people? This is a question that has come. And so I think I will have to release the line which you had asked me to withhold.
Okay, go ahead.
Because it's essential here.
Right.
So in fact, Swami was referring to situations like this, which are really testing for the devotees. And Swami said, it is in these situations, if you can use the clutch of faith, that whatever is happening to me, Swami said, whether good is happening or bad is happening to you, if you are willing to accept both as gifts of God, prasadam of God, if that is the kind of a bhava, a feeling that you can constantly nurture in oneself and in each other, that whatever is happening is the will of God, it is the prasadam of God. That prasada buddhi, Swami said, is real surrender. And moment we develop that prasada buddhi, moment we surrender at His lotus feet, He is automatically there. There is nothing that can assuage a suffering heart like the love of Swami. Swami's love is what can. So, what do you tell them? I would say, why don't we be that love for them? Why don't we express Swami's love for them? And it's very difficult to speak to somebody who's going through a difficult set of experiences, that to back. But if we can be that love for them and be there, be that space of possibilities for them to, I recently heard this story. Of course, slightly divergent from this question, but talking about the space of love, compassion, and possibilities, there was this dacoit by name Angulimala,
Right.
and who was, going through a bitter experience in his life, and he was giving terrible experiences to the people who came across him. So Lord Buddha actually just walked into the scene, and Angulimala was wearing a garland of thumbs. That's why he was called Angulimala. And he was trying to describe how treacherous, how bad, and how dangerous he is to Buddha. But Buddha was full of compassion, full of love, and without any judgment, any point of view about Angulimala, he just presented a space of compassion, a space of love, a space of possibilities. And you know what? The heart of this dacoit Angulimala simply transformed in that moment. If it can transform the heart of such a stone-hearted, rugged personality, why can't it transform amazing, loving people who are going through difficult experiences in their life? So can we be that space of love? Can we be the space of possibilities? Can we be that space of compassion for those who are going through this?
But wonderful, yes, really wonderful. And we are running short of time, because I think we'll have to start winding up. We have, I think, good 50 minutes into this live web chat. Maybe in way of summarizing, I would say that it's an ocean. Like every topic in spirituality is an ocean. Prayer has so many dimensions and so many perspectives, and Swami has given us so many views on how we should pray and what is the most effective way of prayer. In fact, when you were mentioning this about Angulimala and this relevant to the question that CK has asked, there was an incident when Swami was actually not speaking to the students. And so the students tried for some time, Swami, please speak to us, Swami, please speak to us. And Swami was not speaking to them. And then the warden went to, represent them. Swami said, what, you are the representative? Recommendation? Are you recommending for them? And he said, no, Swami, they are really... Then Swami asked a very interesting question. Swami said, are you more compassionate than me?
Wow.
Are you more compassionate? You want me to start speaking to the students. Do you think you know more than me whether they deserve it or not?
Or what is good for them?
What is good for them? What is good for them? So he says, are you more compassionate than me? So, yes, it is not easy when we are going through difficult times, but constantly somewhere in the back of our mind, if we believe that our Lord is most compassionate, and He's always going to do what's good for us.
Wonderful.
Whether we like it or not. So I think that is something which will really help us get out of difficult situations.
Wonderful.
So I think it's endless, these questions. We would really like to take this opportunity to thank all our viewers and for giving such an overwhelming response. We really want to know whether this session was worth it, whether it's good. We are able to touch upon certain thoughts, certain perspectives. We are not able to, of course, touch upon every comment that we have got, but we would encourage you to please participate and please give your comments. And these videos on Radio Sai Next, I would like to again mention that these are introductions. See, this is an introduction of Swami's message. Like if you ask me, this video may not convey much, but it triggers, it introduces the concept of prayer. And for many of the viewers who have missed it, along with the video, we have given 3 links. Now, this is going to be a feature in every Radio Sai Next video. We are going to give links to either articles or audios or discourses of Swami or interviews from Radio Sai. We have the library of recordings in Radio Sai. So we will give links to relevant topics.
Wonderful.
Because in you have to reach the young in a format which they can relate to, which is short, brief, and crisp. But you cannot tell everything.
Yes.
Like you cannot tell the essence of Bhagavad Gita in one shloka. It takes 700 shlokas. There's a reason for it. So but we can give just an introduction. Now all these videos are meant to introduce an idea, to introduce a concept.
So you're basically saying those links that are provided with the video help them to delve deeper into the subject and
they can go deeper into subject. And one more very important perspective and effort that we are actually putting into Radio Sai Next is you have friends, you have relatives, you have colleagues who are not aware of Swami. You know, there may be people who are great devotees, but they are not aware of Swami in this physical form. They are aware of Swami in whatever form they are worshipping. So we want to present the message. See, the message is universal. Swami's message is universal. So the moment they are able to relate to the message, that will start triggering in them this love. Once they see this relevance of this message to their daily life, oh, Bhagwan has said so much. Bhagwan has lived, and we all know, those who know him, we know how he has lived every moment. He has lived his message every moment. So that will start triggering their interest about knowing more about Swami. And the moment you want to know more about Swami, Radio Sai is all yours. You have enough and more content. But the idea of Radio Sai next is to take topics, to take ideas and concepts and present it so that by way of introduction. So the moment you find that introduction and you feel it's relevant, come back to Swami's original, because there is no substitute for the original.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think as a closure, there is a beautiful comment by Sister Sai Kripa, who shares her personal experience and says, after so many prayers, I finally got a way out. I made Swami as my friend, and I used to talk to him so casually as I do with all my other friends. How wonderful is that? If we can make Swami the center of our life and make him a very, very natural, spontaneous part of every conversation that we have day in and day out, isn't that the most beautiful form of prayer?
No, it is. In fact, Karuna Munshi Didi, she is asking, she says, when God is our friend, why do we need to have any conditions? Why can't we ask him anything? Why can't we ask him worldly or spiritual? Yes, there is no harm in asking.
There is no harm. In fact, if we see Bhagavatam itself, we refer to Bhagavatam, Swami often said that the devotees are categorized into four. That is, you have the arthis who ask the Lord for to relief from physical ailments. There are arthatis who ask the Lord for relief from problems related to property, money, profession, and whatnot. And then you have the jignasus who want to know the deeper aspects of life. Why are we here? Where did I come from? Where am I to go? These questions are the reason why they are there. They look at God now as a guru. And finally, the Jnani Bhaktas who are already realized and who are there simply to play with the Lord, just like how the Gopikas played with Lord Krishna, the Jnani Bhaktas. So, there is no limitation to ask anything from the Lord. In fact, a very interesting point of view that I learned from a very old devotee of Swami is they said, see, you must start asking Swami for everything. Don't go with a begging bowl to your boss or to your superiors or whatever. All your prayers and asks, you place it only in Swami's presence, so that one, you know if it is pure or not, because when you're presenting it Swami, you want it to be pure. The other thing is, when that fructifies, the faith that you have in Swami grows manifold, right? So there is a twofold, joy in presenting an ask, or rather a prayer to Swami. So it's nothing wrong to ask, even our worldly desires that we have. Let's pray to Swami. Swami, please, I have this desire, please fulfill them. But what it does is, in the process, we also purify our own prayers. Our desires are purified. And when they are fulfilled through His grace, we are filled with His grace, and our faith in Him grows manifold. And how beautiful is that?
In fact, to summarize the summary of this session, Swami says, I give you what you want, so that you might want what I have come to give. So I think that, in a way, beautifully puts everything in perspective. I give you what you want.
With the hope that you ask for what I have come to give you.
Dear viewers, this has been our first experience with doing a live web chat. And we are really, really excited that we have got fantastic feedback even online. Right now, we have been seeing the live comments here. And if we have made any mistakes, or if there have been any drawbacks, please forgive us. We will improve it in the oncoming sessions. And we will try to do this more often, where we can actually connect with you. Because as we said, these videos are very small and crisp, but we want to connect and explore different perspectives on what these videos actually mean. Thank you so much for your patience, and do tell us if you want the sessions to be shorter. Thank you so much. Sai Ram.
Loving Sai Ram to all of you.